Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Anachronic College of Comic Book Knowledge. We have Professor Gary B., the casual comic guy, with us today. How you doing, Professor?
I am doing well, Joe. Thanks again for having me on. Love
Okay,
spending
thank you.
time on with you.
And our applicant for today, Brian LCS. How you doing, Brian?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous for sure.
You should be. You should be. Because we're tough here on you. But
Right, like that. How many cartridges are in each web shooter question? Is
Oh,
gonna be a good
geez.
one.
All right, I gotta.
there was a web shooter question, but I thought it was too easy for you, so I took it off. Anyway, but all right. So before we get started, let's take a look and see who's joined us for today. For tonight. All right, Bless Cruces. Woohoo! Good to see you. Yes, Trev. Yes, the Godfather is here. Trev, correct. Let's see who else is here with us. Rox. Well, nice to see you here. Yes. And let's see, Chris Bigger has joined us as well.
Bigger.
All right. And I think that's it for right now, but we'll say hi to people as they join us along the way. All right. So, Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your channel, and
Sure.
I think you got something special going on too, right?
Yeah. So yeah, Brian LCS. I've been on YouTube now for about 3 years. This past April was 3 years, 3 year mark.
Wow.
COVID, kind of a COVID channel, right? Got back into collecting and getting back into comic books during COVID. Had a lot of free time and was home and discovered YouTube. And so at some point I said, well, maybe I could start making videos, and I did, and then I got involved with the CBC Awards. Started that, and and now we've got such a great community, a great group of people, and I'm looking forward to Heroes Con next month. There's about 45 YouTubers from the community.
Wow.
So it's going to be a big meetup. So looking forward to that. And so the other thing to mention is I have a Kickstarter. I actually like Mr. Gary B here. I'm a little bit of a writer. I wrote a bunch of stuff back in college, screenplays.
Mm-hmm.
But I started last year working on the script for The Doctor, and got some advice from some community members on how to actually get a comic book together, finding an artist and letterer and colorer and all the things that go into creating your own book. And so, so this is kind of my first effort on the comic book side. And so, I'd have to thank everybody in the community. It's been, we're fully funded. We were funded, about a week in. So, which is amazing. I mean, I'm not surprised because of the type of community that we have, and they tend to back, they tend to support one another, and so, but it's still a little bit of a surprise because when you throw something out there, you never know what the response is going to be, right?
So it's amazing, but you guys now, I feel deficient here, Gary's writing, novellas and books or whatever. Now comic book. I guess I got to do something.
No pressure.
I got to do something. I don't know. How you doing, Damien? Thanks for joining us today. All right. So let's just tell quickly how this works for people. So Brian is the applicant. There will be 5 questions. Both Professor Gary B. and myself will be asking the questions. For every answer that Brian gets correct, his selected charity will get $5. If he gets all 5 correct, then the amount will be doubled to $50, and he will join our list of doctors of comicsology, which I'm sure that's the most important thing to you, Brian. I think, so. Yes. Because when you sign, because I've joined the Kickstarter. When you sign my books, you can sign it, Brian LCS, Doctor of Comicsology. I mean, that's really important, I think, to most people. Metarock, how are you?
Right.
All right. Now, so why don't you tell us a little bit about the charity that you've selected?
Yeah. So the charity that I picked is Operation Surf. So they are a nonprofit charity that helps our veterans. And so what they do is they bring out veterans to a surf camp for a week. And most cases the veterans have never, some of them have never been to the beach, been to been to water, and so they get them out there and they do a full training and get them in the water and do surfing. And it's a charity that my family, my mother-in-law and father-in-law actually were on the board for a while and helped support to get it up and running where it is today. And my wife has done volunteer work for the charity for 5-6 years. She would basically go out, and this is all in California, central coast of California.
Right.
She'd go out and volunteer, help get food together, make sure that all the participants were fed and those type of things. So it's a charity that's kind of close to the family because of the connection. But they're doing some amazing things. There's 2 video links on on the website. There's a documentary on Netflix called Surface about this program and the impact it's having on veterans. And they not only in the past they have brought in soldiers from other countries, from the UK. So it definitely has had a big impact in helping some of the veterans that are struggling with reacclimating to civilian life and who are dealing with PTSD and things like that. And so there's, like I said, the documentaries on Netflix, and there's another video that you can find on YouTube, which is about 15 minutes long, that takes a female Marine story and basically tells her how the program impacted her life. So
well, that sounds terrific. And there's a link to that website in the description. So I encourage people to take a look at it. My membership, we collect the money and we give it to St. Jude's Hospital for Children with Cancer, but also to Tunnel to Towers, which help both veterans and families of first responders that have passed away. So that's a really great thing, because I think there are some organizations that do this, but it always seems like there's not enough. And so I suggest that people that are watching take a look at it, see if it might be something that you can help out with. Yeah. But now we'll see if Brian has the cojones to be able to go through and get all 5 correct.
Do I get like a phone a friend or something? Do I have any of those?
Do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Right,
yes. Your friend, however, is anybody that's in the chat.
Chat. I got you.
Yeah. So if you have a problem, you can ask the chat for some help. I'd ask the chat not to give him any help unless he asks for it.
Right. I'm glad to see Roger and Sleepy here.
Got some smart people,
heavy hitters with some
you got some heavy hitters. They're going to be there. They're going to be able to help you out. I think if you come. I'm sure you'll do fine.
Magnesium show up, Bill. So he's
Bill.
here.
Yeah, Bill's here. Yeah.
I'm sure you'll do fine anyway. So why don't we start with the first question?
Sure.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
You want to take a deep breath or something?
Let me take a sip of water. All right, I think I'm ready.
Wait a minute. Roger says lips are sealed. All right, here's the first question. All right, question number 1. During what Marvel crossover event did Spider-Man get his fan favorite black costume?
It was Secret Wars.
You are correct. Excellent. Well done. Well done. So now see, how hard was that? That wasn't hard, was it?
No, that was easy. That was
your admission. So now you were admitted to the college. So we have easy admission. We don't have a lot of tests. Our admission rate is pretty close to 100%. So I don't think that's a big thing, So, all right. So Professor Gary is going to do the second one. And are you ready for the second question? First of all, I have to tell you, I have that comic book. It's graded. It's downstairs. All right. But I never read it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know anything about it.
You never read Secret Wars?
Secret Wars
I have it all downstairs, in raw form, but I never read it. So
It's a good
Good read?
event comic.
Does this mean you have to be smarter than Joe? Well, I get a chance to look up the questions and answers, Damien. So I don't know if that's what it really means. But all right, so let's go. So Gary, you ready?
I'm ready.
Here's the second question.
All right, question 2. In Spider-Man No Way Home, after having his identity exposed, what lawyer with a nighttime hero persona does Peter turn to for help?
That's Mr. Matt Murdock, Daredevil.
Okay. I don't know if that's right. Wow, you got it. Well done. So that's 2. So now you've got an associate's degree. Do you feel better about this now?
I do.
You feel like you're making it, right?
I still got 3 questions though, so it's like I carried away yet.
So what is this? Jim Shooter is shaking his fist at Joe in abject anger. Well, I think I have I don't know how many signatures I have on that book. I keep sending it in for signatures, but that's it. But anyway. All right. So let's see. All right. So you're doing well so far, and as a practical matter, I think the questions do get a little bit harder.
Okay.
But being the Peter Parker Spider-Man aficionado that you are, I'm sure these are pretty easy for you. Are you ready for number 3?
I'm ready.
Okay. Let's see number 3. Question 3. Now, Peter's romances with Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane Watson, and Felicia Hardy, Black Cat, are well known. But who was Peter's very first real love?
Well, his first date was with Betty Brant. But love was really he was first in love with Gwen Stacy.
You should stop right there.
Okay.
Let's see what the answer is. Yes, it's Betty Brant. Right. Now that's interesting because you're talking about real love, right? So we know you're a very romantic guy, Brian. But
yeah, I think his first true love was Gwen Stacy. He, but Peter Parker's got a a list of ladies. So
right. Well, the thing about this is that Betty came in, I think, in Spider-Man number 4, right? And Spider-Man number 4. And the thing about it was Peter was a high school student at that point, but Betty was a working girl. And so as they went, I think it was
in an office. Joe, she wasn't walking the streets, right?
No, not walking the streets. She was working at the Daily Bugle. Thank you for clarifying that. And so what happened was that Stan Lee started writing, and they used the Marvel method and all that, but Stan Lee started writing, and at the end, I think of was it number 7? I think it was. He had them embrace in this kiss, right? Then people started complaining. Remember, this was like 1964, I guess, whatever, something like that. And people started complaining, what? She's older than him. He's a high school student. She's working already, and all that.
Mrs. Robinson.
Right. The fans got really pissy about the whole thing, right? And so what happened was they decided they had to do something about it. And what they did was they killed off Betty's brother, and she blamed Spider-Man for it.
Ah, okay.
And so, of course, they had to go apart.
Which I always thought was a missed opportunity because I always thought Betty should be used more in the comics than she was.
I thought the same thing, right? Because she was there was a lot that could have went on there. Just that Betty Brant didn't have to be like, Peter's Mrs. Robinson or something like that. But basically, that's the story as I understand it.
And they've used her in the movies too, but just kind of as a secondary, kind of in the background, never really any big role, but she's been there. Yeah.
So anyway, did somebody come in? Did I miss? No.
Chops.
Okay.
Chop and drop.
So you got 3 right so far. Feeling good about yourself now? Feeling good?
Elizabeth Banks
feeling better than I was. What'd you say, Gary?
I said Elizabeth Banks was Betty Brant.
Oh, Elizabeth Banks? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even remember I don't even remember the scene in the movies that she was in. I mean, come on. I mean, it must have been so quick.
Well, that's because J. Jonah Jameson just owned those scenes. That action. Like when he was on screen, that was it. It was all about him. He stole every scene he was in.
Yeah. That actor's really good. What's his name now again? I forget his name.
I'm blanking.
Yeah.
Simmons, J.K.
Yeah,
Simmons.
Jay Simmons, right? Yeah, he's really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what he plays, he does a good job on it. All right, so you ready for number 4?
I'm ready.
You have a bachelor's degree. This is for your master's degree. Okay, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, Professor Gary will give you this one.
All right, question 4. Peter Parker's Aunt May once stated which infamous Spider-Man foe?
That would be Mr. Doc Ock.
How can you tell with that white stuff? Yeah, you go. You got it right. Doc Ock is marrying Aunt May.
I know.
Sorry, we were looking for his proper name, Otto Octavius.
I know. I was debating whether to put Otto Octavius down there. I said I'm going to put Dr. Octopus instead, just let it make it easy, you know. All right. So here's Matt Woods. Never heard of this show before. Not sure who the people
Matt, who's been spending his time in the woods, is with us tonight.
Yeah. I don't know if it was at ASM 131. I don't know what the number was. I should have looked it up, but I didn't do that to see when it was. That could be right. Do we have a blue wrench to kick this Matt Woods show? There are a few.
Wait, Matt's gone like full Tropic Thunder, Ben Stiller, just complete character in the woods.
I know. Well, I enjoy his Facebook posts though now. You know, they're very nice. You know. So when I want to relax in something, I take a look at that. He always has this pastoral scenes going on, these nice quotes and sayings. So it's nice. It's nice.
Deep thoughts with Matt Woods.
Deep thoughts.
It's nice of him to put the bodies off camera.
All right. So we are at the moment of truth.
That's it.
Okay. The thing is this. If you get this question right, not only do you become a doctor of comicsology, and Operation Surf will get another $5 for 25, but we'll double it to $50. Okay. So, I mean, I don't want to put pressure on you, Brian, but every single person that we've had on before you has gotten them all right and become a doctor of comicsology. No one has failed as of yet, but I don't want to put any pressure on you.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I still got my phone a friend, so I'm feeling
good. This is the toughest one. But that's right. You can still phone a friend.
He's not sweating like the comic vet yet, so he's okay.
No, the vet was here, I think, for a minute. The vet was going completely bananas. And he was like writing to me beforehand. I don't know. I'm so afraid of this. I go, you're like a big Spider-Man fan. What's going on?
Right. Well,
you're right there. He was sweating it off.
He
was sweating it off. All right. Okay, so let's get this going here. All right, so here's question number 5 for the doctorate and for double the money for Operation Surf. Okay, Spider-Man made his debut in Amazing Fantasy 15 with Steve Ditko penciling the story. However, Ditko's proposed cover, which we see here, was rejected by Stan Lee. Who penciled the final AF-15 cover?
I think I'm going to have to ask the chat.
Okay, chat, it's up to you. You want to help him out? Give him an answer.
I'm pretty sure I know, but I want to make sure.
Okay, he thinks he knows, but he needs some help here. Who penciled the AF-15 cover? It wasn't Steve Ditko. Come on, Chad, help him out. Nobody wants to help you?
I mean,
nobody knows?
Roger's got to know.
Come on, Roger. Look at this. Come on. There is something called Google.
Right.
Oh, you have one potential answer there. You got a second potential answer there.
All right. I'll go with Roger and Bill. I'll go with Kirby.
Okay, so let's see. Is it Jack Kirby? Yes, Jack Kirby pencil and Steve Ditko inked Kirby's pencils. So what that means is that you are a doctor of comicsology and Operation Search will get $50.
Thank
Congratulations,
you, Joe.
and I think this was a tough one for you, Brian. You know, I think it was a tough one for
Yeah,
you.
well, the last one had me a little nervous because I wasn't 100% sure. So I'm
Did
glad
you?
I had the save the chat help to the end.
Well, people are celebrating the fact that you got it right there. You know. All right. So I'm glad you made it,
So
Brian.
is
And
there
I'm
going to be like
glad
a
that
ceremony at some point of
yes, we
all
will.
of the?
We're going to have a ceremony at your house. As soon as you invite me down, I'll come down with the diploma and everything else. So we'll do that. You know. But your name will be added. Our exit video has the list of all of the doctors, and your name will be added to that list. You know.
Excellent.
So tell me a little bit about. Now I want to show you something. I took out my two oldest Spider-Man comic books that I have. Those are my two oldest ones that I bought as a kid. I bought this number 5. Number 9 was the first one I bought when I was a kid, and because my friends kept telling me, "You got to buy Spider-Man. You got to buy Spider-Man." I'm going, nah. Like I'm buying Avengers. I got Fantastic Four. I got X-Men. I need Spider-Man. So I finally bought it and thought it was pretty good. So I went trying to look for the older ones in the bookstores, and I only found that one. So this one did cost me 12 cents. This one cost me 5 cents, but it's in pretty bad shape. So, you know, but that's okay. So that was it. So that's me. But
Seems like a pretty good deal.
yeah, good deal still. But how about you? Why did you become a Spider-Man fan?
So Spider-Man for me, well, I think Batman was my first superhero that I discovered. I used to watch Adam West, growing reruns as a kid. And then
Wait a minute. You watched Adam West reruns as a kid?
yes,
What are you,
yes.
25 years old? I watched them every Monday and Wednesday. Watched it too. They're on 2 times a week.
That was my introduction to superheroes. And then I don't know how I discovered Spider-Man, but knowing the story and growing up in New York and on Long Island, not far from Queens, as a little kid, I was, I thought, well, I could go into Queens and maybe see Spider-Man swinging around, or go into Manhattan and see him, protecting people in the city. And so that was my hook, that just the proximity of where I lived. And, Batman was Gotham City, and I wasn't aware of any Gotham cities, somewhere. I knew New York City, I knew Queens. So Spider-Man quickly became my favorite. And then between cartoons, my mom took me one time to a breakfast with Spider-Man at a JC Penney's. We had pancakes and got to hang out with Spider-Man. My dad
Wow.
took me to Play World. It was a toy store that was competitor of Toys R Us, and I saw Spider-Man there and the Green Goblin when I was 7 or 8 years old. So I was hooked very early on, and he he just really became my favorite. So
Yeah, well, I can understand that. Now look at Bill. I don't know, Joe. I guess I first found the X-Men in the X-Men 97 reruns I watched as a kid. All right. I know I'm older than you, but the funny thing about it is that you always say, "Well, I've watched this in reruns." I'm saying I watched the whole thing when it came out.
Right after he warmed his house with fire, he watched some shit.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Well, actually, I discovered fire. I mean, I put two pieces of rock together. The spark came out, and this fire started, which annoyed my mother to quite a bit. But but it helped out. We learned how to cook food after that. But anyway, so all right. So when did you first start collecting Spider-Man then?
So I collected. I bought books here and there. I would always buy books like when we would go on our summer vacation, family vacation. We typically would drive somewhere, and so I'd always pick up Mad Magazine and a comic book or two. but not until I was probably 11 or 12 did I actually start picking up books regularly. I was able to walk or go to a 7-Eleven that was close to our house, and I would just pick up books off the newsstand. So that was probably like thinking like issue wise, Amazing Spider-Man like 230 or so.
Right.
And then once I started picking a few books up, then I kind of got hooked, and there was a comic book shop that was not too far, and so I started going to the shop and picking things up. And then once I was able to drive, a little bit older and able to drive, then I basically would go to the comic shop, every couple weeks and pick up books. But the thing back then, so this was mid early '80s. The thing back then was there were only 13 issues a year. Spider-Man was published once a month, and you had an annual, so a lot easier to collect back then.
You only had to worry about getting the Marvel team up back then with them.
Right. So yeah, I started collecting everything with Spider-Man. I collected, so Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular, Team Up, and then Web of Spider-Man came out, and then the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man came out. So I was basically collecting, any of the Spider-Man titles. But again, it was still a lot easier back then because just the frequency of publishing, and there weren't really a lot of variant covers back then. So it was pretty economical to be able to collect books.
Nice and cut and dry.
Right. Yeah.
But as a Spider-Man fan, just like anyone that collects any particular character, what's your single favorite issue or favorite story arc?
It would have to probably be Kraven: The Last Hunt, because that I read that as it was published, and getting the different books, that was a very a very good story. I always enjoyed the team ups though, because and no particular story, but it was always getting to know another character. So I got Spider-Man, but then I got some other character that he was teaming up with, and got to know a little bit about them and their superpowers.
Story. One issue, you have to go look for other things.
Right. So that was always a fun read because it expanded my knowledge outside of just Spider-Man. Getting to know other superhero characters. So
now you still try to collect or all Spider-Man stuff, or do you focus in on, let's say, the ASM title and something else or what have you? Today
I'm buying all of the main series Spider-Man. So Amazing. I'm in Miles now too. So Miles Morales as well. But some of the like limited series stuff I pick and choose because Spider-Man is similar to Batman, where there's so many different titles with Spider-Man in it.
Yeah.
So I kind of pick and choose on some of the mini series and things like that. I don't pick up everything.
And they're making it tough too, because DC and Marvel now, like every 10 issues, they want to do like a $10 anniversary issue of some sort.
I know.
Right. Well, that's what they're doing. I think next issue of ASM is of this run is issue 50. I forget what the legacy number it is.
And 250 covers over there.
It's a $10 book, a $9.99 book.
Right, and they've already had like 3 of those in the last year.
Right. And they've had 2 different crossover events in the last year with Spider-Man. Gang War and Dark Web. Where there was all these tie-ins and crossovers and things. So, I mean, I understand it from Marvel's point of view. It's their number, their big character who sells the best. So they're trying to milk it, but doesn't mean I need to buy everything.
Well, that's the one thing that really bothered me, because I was still buying comics up to last year, like new comics. And at some point in time, and I was buying Spider-Man. Like, I mean, that was one of the ones I bought, that Justice League and all that. And I started not to like the Spider-Man stories very much. I tried to read through them, but they weren't. So I was buying without reading. And then the Justice League was basically, quote unquote, killed off.
Right.
And the stories were getting so complicated, where I thought they really didn't work in the comic book scenario, but that they were more, maybe they should have been short stories or something like that. You know what I mean? Too complicated.
Yes. Yes.
And
There's a lot of, knowledge that you need to have from things that have happened in the past or in different books. And yeah, it just, sometimes they just need to kind of keep it simple, right? Give us some simple stories
well,
with
that's
some
why I
great
like,
art.
yeah, in the past when you went through it, I mean, when I first starting quote unquote collecting or whatever you want to, what I didn't really collect, I bought them to read, but I
Right.
saved them. Basically, is what I did.
Right.
But
And
what
that's
I
what I was doing. Yeah.
yeah, but I remember the comics used to come out. DC had, I think Marvel pretty much had monthlies. They had bi-monthlies and monthlies, but DC had bi-monthlies, right, every 2 months. So a lot of times when a new character came out, like the Atom or something like that, he came out like just every other month, right? Right. And then some of them are monthly, like the Batman or the
Right.
or Action Comics, stuff like that. But then some others were 8 times a month. So they came out 2 months in a row, and Justice League was like that. They didn't take a month off and 2 months in a row. So you were able to kind of gauge it. If when they were 10 cents each and I had my dollar, not everything came out every month.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So you
Yeah.
can expand. You can go out and you can say, "Oh, Brave and the Bold, I'll buy these," because there's no Justice League this month or something like that. But now that I got so inundated that's there, I basically, I'm going to go back and I'm just going to start, filling in runs of things that I had collected back in Silver Age and Bronze Age, and buy some of these things, and I'm pretty happy doing that. The only new comics that I've been reading is the Conan thing because Gary put a gun to my head on that. But it's real. I'm
You just
enjoying it.
promoted
It's
it,
really
so
fun.
you better keep reading.
Actually, I'm 3 behind. I got 3 I still got to catch up on, and Geiger and kind of I didn't get all of the what is he calling his new world now? The
The
unknown thing, the
Ghost
unknown,
Machine. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
unknown
I know what
world
you
or
mean.
whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
But I bought a couple of them. I just went out. I was just in Midtown Comics and I bought a couple of more like Red Coat. I heard some things about, so I bought 1 and 2, and I'll read through that. And I'll still like touch base on some things, but to me, it just became too much to handle. And,
Yeah.
I just said, all right, I'm not going to do it anymore. And it was just, I did it cold turkey. It's like a smoker and just saying, I'm not smoking anymore. That's it. I just did it cold turkey. And
Yeah.
I
No.
do have, DC. I do read some DC online, a few of them. And I won't read it sometimes for a month or two, but then I'll read them. They come out a month after they come out in hard copy. So you don't have to wait as long as you do with the Marvel stuff.
Well, yeah. Marvel's a little bit longer, right?
Yeah. So I just go ahead and I read it and all that. And it's kind of fun to do it that way. So anyway, but that's just kind of me. And
Yeah, and I've done the same. I've kind of really trimmed back the pull list. I'm still buying some new books, but when I
yeah,
first got back in a couple of years ago, it was like drinking from a fire hose, right? And even YouTube too, right? You hear recommendations from other
yeah,
channels or people, and you start picking things up. And I trim things back. I'm only I'm Spider-Man titles, and Miles Morales, so Peter Parker and Miles, and then really just the Geiger series right now. Everything else have kind of because I'm finding if I can save some of that money every month, then I can put it towards an older Spider-Man book.
that's right.
And so I like being able to do that to
Mhm.
go start filling in the run. So and you do, like you said, you have digital, you have the ability to read stuff on digitally. So if you don't pick up the book itself, you can read it digitally,
You
or
told me the story.
even sometimes if you hear something about a good story, you can probably pick them. Most books you can pick up a little bit cheaper, when they're done, unless it's an
Right, once
option,
they hit
some
those dollars.
rumor.
Well, Junkyard Joe. Before I went down to Florida, I went to the because I finally found an LCS that's less than 2 hours away. It's over in Connecticut, but I went over there, and he always has a lot of books that he puts there for different prices. And I found what's it, six issues, I think. I found them all for either $2 for $2
Right.
a piece, basically. I
Yeah.
said, oh, I said, I think I'm going to pick this up to read it because he appeared in the Geiger book, and I thought
Right.
kind of interesting, And so $2 a piece. So it cost me $12 instead of whatever,
Right.
So that was
no,
great.
that's good. Or even picking it up in a trade after the fact. If you
Yes.
hear about a story that somebody's that has buzz about it, you can always just pick up the trade.
I got one more question for you, Brian.
Sure.
Okay.
So we all have our favorite characters. Now there's tropes we like about the characters, and there's tropes we don't like. So I'm curious what the biggest trope that writers do with Spider-Man you don't like. Like for me, every writer breaks up Peter and MJ. And to me, that title is always strongest when Peter and MJ are together and she's his anchor.
Right.
Every time they break them up, it completely makes me lose interest in the character again. I'm just like, because and every writer thinks they're doing something new.
I hated Brand New Day. I hated it.
Yes, just leave Peter and MJ alone. You can mess up everything else in that universe, but leave them. What's the trope that you don't like the most about Spider-Man?
I mean, that's certainly one. I was pretty excited when before this this current run, and why am I drawing Zeb Wells, right, is writing. Before he picked this up, it looked like MJ and Peter were getting back together, and then his storyline, broke them apart, and I heard an interesting thing recently. A younger comic book collector said, "Oh, well, everybody wants Peter married with MJ because they're 40 and 50, 60 years old, and that they want it to reflect their own life. That they're in a relationship with somebody." And so I find that really funny, but because I think of Peter as like, when I got back reading and picked up Spider-Man, I said, he hasn't figured, like, he still can't pay the rent, and he still doesn't have a job, and like he hasn't learned anything yet.
Right.
We need to like progress the character, right? He's
like
60.
What happened when they had him teaching, and he was teaching at Empire State, and
Yeah.
And then, so I missed the whole Parker Industries. And so, he did have some success for a while, but I'm like, he's still struggling to, bill collectors are still after him. He's still roommating with somebody. And it's just, that's one of the things I found funny getting back, reading it. I think, MJ is probably one of the big ones. And the fact that they haven't progress the character, I think, enough, right? Because we have Miles, who reminds me of a young Peter Parker, right? He's figuring out how to be a superhero and deal with personal stuff in his life, his family and things like that. So I think we're ready to take Parker and kind of move him forward a little bit. And I think that's why the Ultimate Spider-Man run, people are really enjoying, because he's with MJ, he's got kids. And so it's kind of a little bit of a mature, character.
And I also don't think they lean into the scientist side of Peter enough. This is a guy that created his own web fluid. This is a guy that
he's a smart guy.
He's not Reed Richards, right? He's pretty damn smart,
right? Right. And that's what they can't. And that's what just made me crazy. Like, he hasn't figured this out yet,
And that's the thing too. I mean, one of the things is, I agree with you, Brian. He could be progressing, I mean, it doesn't have to be a grandfather now, but I mean, he could be progressing. And there's a lot of stories you can tell, and he could have stayed, married to Mary Jane, maybe had, the daughter, whatever it happens to be. But that's the key there. You came up with a couple of different things. If you have some stories you want to tell, I mean, you can have other Spider-Men, like Miles Morales is the young guy again, right? So
right.
Tell those stories through him. A little bit different character, different background, but the same type of stories could be told, through him. One of the storylines that I absolutely loved when I was collecting and reading it was Superior Spider-Man. And Peter wasn't really in it, except in part of his mind was still there. It was a whole different type of Spider-Man story that was able to be done only because of the underlying thing of Doc Ock taking over his body.
Right.
I mean, but it was a great story, the 32, 33 issues.
And so many people praised that. so many people praise that run, like saying that's a great, story.
Yeah, and when Peter came back, which I knew he was going to do, I actually had almost like mixed feelings about it because I was enjoying that run so much,
Right.
And I was saying, and I know now they've come back with another. I have no clue what the new Superior Spider-Man thing is, whatever it happens to be. I have no clue. I don't want to know because whatever it is, it can't be as good as the first one. That's kind of my view on it, So that's it.
But Sleepy Reader says, there's a problem. There's a huge problem with a character that's been around, for 60 years. And yeah, I think Marvel's still trying to figure out. Well, we want to attract young readers with Peter Parker, but so they haven't. But the people that are buying the book have been buying the book for years, and so I think there's enough kids, a base of younger readers that probably know Miles as Spider-Man. I mean, in video games and things like that. So I think they need to finally evolve the character at some point. Like I said, I think that's what we're getting in Ultimate.
Right. And they got to be careful too, because one of the things with Superman that always annoyed me, and the recent stories have been better, is that people just don't know how to write Superman, and it's going to come to the point with Peter Parker that people aren't going to know how to write him either. I mean, you have to be able to have writers that come, I'm sorry, Brian Michael Bendis might have been great on X-Men. I stopped reading Superman, like 5 issues and I couldn't take it anymore, and I haven't read him since, other than the new, when they just changed things over again now and all this. It just took me a long time to get back there to read it, but you have to know how to write the character, and you have to have writers that can do that. And Peter's could be, you're right, Gary, the science that's there, and when they had Parker Industries, actually, Otto Octavius had started that up. When he took it over, it ended up going bankrupt.
Right.
but there was stuff to do there, and they could. He didn't go bankrupt because they wanted him to go back to. He had no job, couldn't pay the rent. I mean, come on.
Right. He could invent something with the brains he has and live off royalties and still do Spider-Man full time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's the one thing that I don't understand, why they don't put their A team on Spider-Man, right? A good writer with who can write the character, and no disrespect to John Romita Jr., but his artwork to me just isn't my cup of tea.
No, me either.
Some of his covers are just they're not. And I don't know if it's age or time or whatever it is, but his art just is different than it was 20 years ago. And so
has it become more boxy to you? Is that the way you see it? That's kind of my view on it.
Yeah.
It was always a little boxy,
Yes.
I don't like
this
now it seems cross thing he does either.
So for me, reading it, when you have artwork that is a little distracting or just isn't your cup of tea, and then you couple that with maybe some bad writing or not your favorite story, it just feels, if the art was great, if you love the art but the story was okay, or vice versa, you could live. But when you have two things that really aren't working, so that's why I don't understand why Marvel doesn't put like their A team, find a great artist, and because it's one of their books that sells, the most. So but I guess it's because people still buy it regardless of.
That's the thing.
Well, and I think by the end of this guy's run, they'll kill Paul off and put him and MJ back together.
That's probably where we're headed. Yeah.
Well, I would say this: we have two great writers right here. I mean, I think they should just get you guys involved. I mean, that's it. All right, so let's just bring this to it. So, Brian, not only are you the Godfather, but you now are. Do you want to be called Dr. Godfather or Doc Brian? Doc Brian, I kind of like. Sounds almost like
that works. Doc Brian. I didn't really think of it, but yeah, Doc Brian.
And the Operation Surf, we'll get the $50.
Yes, that's great.
I'll let you know when I send it in there. And so why don't we just go around the horn and, kind of talk about what might be coming up for us. So, Brian, what about you? What's coming up for you?
Well, we mentioned earlier about the Kickstarter, right? I have my
All right, let me
first
bring
comic
that back
book.
up.
So the campaign is ongoing. It finishes up in early June, and I'm making the rounds. A lot of open invites,
Mhm.
and I'll be actually sitting down with Gary later this month. So definitely some appearances coming up to help talk about the project and promote it. And a big again, a big thank you to everybody who's backed it and all of the people sharing it and mentioning it and live streams and things like that. It's amazing community to be able to support something like this. So I
Right,
really
and
do.
Brian, if you want, and Brian will sign the books because I got the signature thing. I just
Yes,
he will sign them as Doc Brian if you want. I mean, right, Brian, you'll do that, right?
yes. Oh,
You're not
sure.
going to charge extra for that, is that so?
No, no, not at all.
One of the new stretch goals is you get a copy of his doctorate with each comic.
There you go. There you go.
I'll take a photo with my degree and send that to you.
Right.
But
What
yeah,
else is coming up?
we breakfast. I've moved my breakfast with Brian show. I used to do it Saturday mornings, and now I do it Sunday morning. So live
Which means I
stream
can't
every
watch it.
Sunday morning. Yeah.
I can't watch it live.
So, but yeah, that's and I do regular videos. I do some videos a couple times a week, and but really enjoy the live stream and like I said, looking forward to just hanging out with a few other community members on their streams over the next couple weeks to promote the comic book and chat with them. So
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I'm looking forward to getting that comic book. It sounds like a great idea. How about you, Professor Gary? What's coming up for you?
Well, next week on the 1011, which has kind of become the flagship show of the channel, we have Will from Cup of Comics making his second appearance on the show.
nice.
So Will is a great guy. Everyone should definitely sub him up. One of the nicest people you ever talk to. Will's just great. So I can't wait to have him back on. Then on the 23rd, and Joe, if you're available, I might ask you to come on too and hang out. But we have none other than Doug Bratton coming on to talk about isolation.
Right.
So that's going to be fun. And then getting towards the end of the month here, we have on the 28th, we have Flash by Night, TJ making his second appearance on the 1011. And then we're closing the month out with Brian LCS, and we're going to talk all about his Kickstarter.
Okay. And Gary, I thought I was going to be on your show with that special 1011 that I spoke to you about.
You are, but you haven't given me a date yet.
Oh, I have to give you the date? Okay.
You haven't told me when you're available yet.
I am so much in demand, it's so difficult to find.
And remember, I said June. May's
You did
already
say
been
June.
scheduled.
I'll take a look and see.
I have a couple dates left in June, and I'm already scheduling into July right now.
Whoa. See
So-
that? I'm too slow. I'm too slow. So, I have my live streams generally on Friday night. And, although I try to keep, Brian, I saw that you have on the Comic Community Awards, you put basically a TV guide thing down there. And the comic book crowd is generally the last Friday of the month.
Right.
But this coming up one, we're going to have it on the second last Friday, which I think is the 24th. Yeah. Because Roger Metarog is going to be a member of the crowd that evening. And we're going to have a great show. Roger has suggested Bronze Age limited series. And so somebody like Milt, who's going to be on the show, tells me he's got about 10 at the ready. Gary says he's got like 100 of them ready to show. I don't know how many. I said, there's no number, but let's not show 100 or 20. Meanwhile, I basically stopped collecting wholeheartedly in 72 or 73. So I'm like looking around saying, can I have a couple that I could bring in?
Right.
But that should be pretty interesting. People come up with
series.
Yeah,
10 issues are under.
they have. So that's going to be good. Yeah. So can't wait for Roger to be on. That'll be great. And that's we have it at 8:00. The Friday after that, we are going to have a delayed May Espresso mail call. Again, I had to delay it because I had to get Brian in at this point. But Brian, I'm going to tell you, basically what I want to try to do is have the mail call like the second Friday, rather have the college the second Friday, maybe the mail call the third Friday, and then have the I'm going to try that, but I have to. If I have guests, I gotta be flexible for them. So,
Yeah, you got to, check it with your social calendar and
that's
make
right.
sure it
That's right.
fits right. I
That's
understand.
right. Yeah, they're short run series. Yeah. Yeah, Roger, I told people like, yeah, I don't know, around 10. I think you told me around 10. I might have one that's 12, but I think I'm going to do that. And Gary's already threatening you, Roger. So that's.
Well, I'm sure if Roger and Milt are going to be on, I know, it could be a 4-hour stream with those two.
I think Chuck is going to be on too, and he has probably a ton. I mean,
Yeah,
it's going to
Last
be a
night I
great
already
show.
told Milt one series is off limits to him because I'm showing it.
Oh, okay. He said he has 10 so he doesn't want to duplicate anybody. I said, okay. So that should be kind of a fun show, because I know a little about Bronze Age and what's going on there, but I'm looking to learn some stuff. I think it's going to be kind of cool. I just hope it doesn't open up too many rabbit holes for me. And I am working on another series, which is going to be pretty interesting, where I'm basically going to I'm going to pick about 10. And I've worked on about 4 or 5 of them so far. One of them is, I think, the way I want them. I'm going to go back to about 10 superheroes from the golden age of comics. And I'm going to just basically bring them to what they are today. And so I think the first one's going to be Wonder Woman, and for Steve White. And so I think that's the first one. I'm not sure if I could. They're pretty intricate. Like you saw my timeline, my history that I put together. The stuff I do takes time, so I can't always get it out when I want to get it out. But I think that's going to be kind of cool to do.
That's why I enjoy watching your videos, because it's typically I'm learning something, right? It's something I didn't know, or you've done the research, so you watch it and you get to learn something. So I
appreciate that, Brian. That's what I try to do. If I had all the knowledge of a Chuck Henze or a Metarog or Bill, I wouldn't have to do that, but I have to do the research first. And
those are nice eidetic memories they have, right?
It's amazing, the stuff that they know. That's why I love having Chuck on, or Steve, or even Mark, because they just say, that they did this and this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going, oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. So, Brian, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you, being part of it. I believe that next month, Milt is the applicant, if I remember correctly. I hope I got it right. I think it was Milt is the next applicant.
Is it Howard the Duck?
Yes, it's going to be Howard the Duck.
Oh, that should be a good one.
So we're going to need some of the professors, or maybe we need some guest professors to come in and help me with Howard the Duck. Matter of fact, I've been doing some of my research, some of my Howard the Duck research. I don't know where it is here. Yeah. See? Picking up some of the new Howard the Ducks that are there, just so I could learn.
I thought he was going to pull up a duck.
So that's going to be kind of fun. Be something new for me, So we'll see how that's going to work out. All right. And Gary, thank you as usual. You're always there for me. I really appreciate it, my friend. I really do.
Always, buddy.
And of course, the chat. We had a good chat. They helped Brian with that last answer, which is what you're here for, So I want to say good night to everybody, and don't forget about the comic book crowd next Friday night with Metarog, and the Espresso mail call coming up Friday after that. All right, and with that, we'll say good night to everybody. Be well, and we'll see you soon. Take care.